So that's kind of the journey, right? You go through the process of like figuring out how you're going to start this thing. You have an idea hopefully in place, and you're like, okay, this is something that's stuck in my head. How do I get it out of my head and hopefully make some money out of it? But you see the journey of like the decisions that you have to make, right? So with that, I kind of want to swing it back to Britt. How have you, after you made the decision in December, like I'm quitting, this is what I'm doing full time, how did you build community through Kitchen Bear?
I build community. I have to thank everyone who supports me. I just try to do my best. Anything that I do, if it's a catering job, a class, if I'm donating food somewhere, I just try to do my best. And I let our work speak for ourselves. I'm really active with my followers on social media. I try to talk to everybody. I feel like I'm a warm person, so I try to, I just want to be everybody's grandma. So I try to bring everybody in because I really want to display the love of God to everybody else. So I think that's just me as a person. That has nothing to do with my business. It has nothing to do with me trying to get you to do business with me. I genuinely just want you to feel love when you come in my presence. And I think that has really helped with our business as well. Yes.
I heard someone say the other day, and I can't attribute it, but they were saying if you're a good person, you can just be a good business person. Like if you just kind of are like genuinely kind.
Yeah.
Like that will just somehow transfer into your business operations because it'll feel kind of natural. Right? That's right.
Yeah. It's just your personal being. If you're a positive person and you're a nice person to people, then good things are gonna happen to you, happen for you.
Yeah. And your brand is really just your reputation anyway, so it all makes sense, yeah.
I just remember who said it. It was Joshua Boone. He's sitting right here.
I need my credit.
I was like, who said this? Like, I just heard this. It was Joshua Boone. He's a photographer, and he shot Boston last week, and he's shooting tonight. So this is a special request, a question from all of us up here, and this is for Randy. We want to know how you've been able to build your company through ads, like how you've been able to get your social media following up, this, like how you've gotten it, and like how you're able to keep people engaged as well on social media.
That's a good question. It's really simple though. It's really simple. The video that Rashad did for me in 2016 was the thing that really catapulted my business. And in that video, all I did was tell my personal story of where we were at that point with the business. And I realized something in doing that is that people really connected with something that's very relatable. They connected with the emotion that I went through in making that transition to full time, and that really led people to check out the company. So that's essentially the crux of the building of brand and starting a brand. Like, what emotion are you tapping into? So if you're cooking, what emotion do you want people to experience? That's a good way to think about it. So once you tap into that emotion, now I have your attention. Now I have a reason in this busy world where we get ads constantly. I think they said the average person sees 3,000 ads a day. How can you break out of that and kind of make an impact and get people to stop scrolling, if you will, to check your company out? So the way I do it is I capture emotion, and then from there, what I do is something that's somewhat more complicated that Rashad and I was talking about. It's called the sales funnel, and it's essentially reaching people at what point they are in connecting with you. For example, a person who has never heard of Talley and Twine is someone we would call cold, right? It's just like somebody, a telemarketer calling you. You know what I'm saying? But with Talley and Twine, we make people come to us. So we show you our ads. If you choose to engage with it, now you become warm. So people who have commented, shared, liked the video, they're warm. So I show them a different set of ads to that warm audience. And then from there, people who have visited the site interacted with one of our ads, that person is hot. All right, they've actually put something in their cart before, or they've viewed a product, that person's hot. So I would show a different type of ad to them. And that's essentially what it takes to run an online business. Segmenting your customers through your sales funnel, knowing where they are in the journey, cold, warm, and hot, and then reaching them there. And then also, as far as building your audience, you know, you just want to be, to me, you want to be as authentic as possible and know what separates you in the marketplace from everybody else, and make sure you lead with that in all of your ads, your posts. You know, everything should be cohesive. So if I go to your website and I go to your Instagram and I go to your Facebook, it should feel like I'm in the same place. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do. That's my strategy.
And you mentioned Shad and helping to build that story. We're just gonna keep coming back to Shad.
Shad is the man. Shad is the man.
Shad is the man. So Shad, question for you, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few kind of themes with like brand story, and also we're talking about like video content. What are some of the things when you're working with like new clients or new brands that you advise them on their digital marketing strategy, like social media, email marketing, everything, like to get the word out about what they're doing?
Really, to go back to Randy, like when I did his video, like I said, about three years ago, this was the first time I actually, you know, utilized it, because he actually gave me the idea, which is just tell your brand story or tell your story. So I usually just tell any business that, you know, you just need to be as authentic as possible, and then the things that separate you from everybody else is the things that are going to draw other people into your brand and who you are. So with, you know, with different businesses, that's my first thing, is just put out a video or put out some type of piece of content that actually tells your story about what got you to where you are today. So I do a series called Interviews with a Rebel, where I interview different creators and entrepreneurs. And my first question is like, what is your origin story? Which is pretty much like how, you know, the Joker movie was kind of crazy that people saw that. The Batman Begins, all that stuff is all an origin story. So like, you as a personal brand or as a brand, what is your brand's origin story? What are the things that got you to where you are at today? So those are the things that's going to, you know, resonate the most with different people, because you're telling the story of you being afraid to make that leap, or, you know, you being, you know, the ups and downs of your business. Because now a lot of people just show the highlights. People just show like all the great things they're doing. They're out on, you know, tropical islands and blue waters and all that stuff. But a lot of times it's not like that at all. It's a lot of struggling, a lot of hardships. Yeah, so it's a lot of ups and downs with that. So I usually just tell everybody to tell that story, and more people will resonate with you. So that's kind of like my main thing.
So Jarrell, so you rely, and correct me if I'm wrong, rely heavily on like in-person events, like building things up, and you also provide a service for other companies. So how have those two different streams of income impacted like how you like shifted what you do through Nomarama?
Providing other companies a service was actually a recent development of the company, thanks to my wife. So Nomarama, I've personified the brand with myself, basically. So to the point of being as authentic as you possibly can, and try to engage with your following and your tribe is very much so my priority. So anything that I do, I try to make it a point to let them know that I'm just a normal person, just like everybody else in this room. I don't feel like I'm better than anybody. And to Shad's point about explaining your journey and letting people in a little bit onto what I'm doing, they can be more, it's relative, if you will. I'm like you, I'm doing similar things that you could be doing yourself, but when it comes to working with businesses, like I mentioned, that's a new development for me, to where I see my value because I have my tribe that supports me. So when I approach businesses and say, look, you have a product, you have a service that you want to advertise for more, why not tap into my networking? Why not tap into my audience or my tribe? Because they trust and believe what I'm talking about on this side of the fence. Let me bring my people to you to then advertise to those people as well. And it's a new development, but it's, like Shad mentioned, it's growing, and it's showing me that I'm actually kind of know what I'm talking about to a certain extent. In my journey, I am very much so learning every day as I go. So I like to share a lot of my experiences. And encourage people that if you're trying anything, if you're doing anything, you're developing anything, just act. No matter what it is, there's a market for everything. It's so funny the way that social media works now, because it's a true testament of that, to where if you really deeply dive into social media, you find some crazy stuff. There are people who smash their face into bread, and they get paid to do that. Bread smashing. Of all things you can think
That's a real thing?
It's a legit thing. They smash their face into some bread or some cake, and the way they rack up those views, people are like, yo, you got an audience. It's all about the audience. And I think The podcast I just heard you on the other day, Randy, was talking about that exactly, to where businesses, if you're looking at, they're trying to buy a business, they don't particularly look at just the product. They look at your audience that surrounds that product. Because if you can sell somebody on a product, there's a chance they may not come back. But if you buy that audience, they're going to come back through and through and through. So.
Okay. So this is a question for everybody. Have you ever done something for free? Like not, everyone's like, yes, I've done something for free. And has that led to an opportunity where you did get paid? And if there's one story that you can share about that.
All right, I got a story. So pretty much I've built my business on doing free work. So I hear people say, you know, why are you doing all these videos for free? And it's because eventually I'm gonna make that money back. So a story, actually earlier this year, probably around March, April, I told myself, you know what, since a lot of my business is more so content based, I produce a lot of content for different businesses. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do 10 videos for 10 different companies. 10 companies I've never had connection with that I don't even know. So I just started, Instagram DM, I just start hitting people up like, hey, I like what you do. You got to butter them up a little bit. I'm a fan of your work. You're doing a lot of great stuff in the community. I was like, you know what? What I really want to.
You came at me with.
It is. Yeah. It definitely works. So yeah, hit people up, and then I had 10 people, or actually it was probably about 7 people before I got busy, and that said, hey, we would love to do videos with you, and so I made it a point to do videos with companies that weren't in my portfolio already, that I can actually use to actually grow my portfolio. But also, you said, you know what, I'm gonna hit up people who have like a little bit of brand, a little bit of notoriety. So when they actually put out my video, they're gonna share with all their people. And so I actually did a video with a real estate agent. Her name on Instagram is Best Dressed Realtor. She has a nice following, nice brand and everything. So when I did her video, I got so much, it's one of my highest grossing videos on Instagram. But after that, I got probably about 10 to 12 people who reached out to me and said, hey, I want to shoot a video just like hers, and I'll pay you. It doesn't really matter the price, I'm gonna pay it. And so that kind of carried me up until now. People still hit me up and reach out to me saying, hey, I saw that video that you did for Taria, is her name. And I definitely want a video just like that. So it's really carried me for the past 6 months by doing free work. So
it's an investment in yourself.
Yeah, most definitely.
I want to say something about that. Number one, why didn't you do my video?
I was
talking
actually
about that, but number two, a lot of the people that I work with creatively, like video photographers, etc., have just messaged me randomly on Instagram and offered to do free work, and I wound up hiring them to do paid work. So that technique works a lot. It's very effective because I get a chance to see what you're doing, and then we can go ahead and deploy that. So when I have somebody in mind, and not only that, but the referral aspect as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're tapping into that person's network, they have a chance to hey, look, this person is great. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for a referral. So I see a growing trend online where people are like, don't do anything for free, know your worth, where you ain't got no worth because you don't have no clients.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to build up your worth. The market determines your worth. So if you don't have a market, you ain't got much worth yet. So this is a great technique. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I feel like we're really hyping you today, Shad.
Yeah, y'all definitely gassing me right now. I feel good.
But so Shad really taught me everything I know about business, and the initiative that I'm going to talk about, I'm not really a business-minded person at all. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I just kind of go with it. But Shad did teach me that doing things for free, it will pay you back. Recently, I did an initiative, and we still do it. We give desserts to local Department of Social Services, social workers. And I promise you guys, when I did that, it was not to get business. I just really know what they went through. So I was just like, yo, I'm gonna give y'all some banana pudding because y'all need it. You know what I'm saying? And so it just so happened when I did my first one, I was like, really, God, this is what we doing? I'm doing. It was the city of Norfolk, and they have 2 different Department of Social Services, and it's 100 people there. So I was like, bro, I won't really, I'm like, okay, God, this is what you want me to do, cool. So, but that cost me a lot of money. And I was like, dang. So I was like, So, just being real, 'cause you know, I tell you to do stuff, you be like, whatever. But like 2 days later, I made the money back easily. Just from people like, oh my God, I got an event this weekend. Can you make me some banana pudding? Girl, I got you know. So that's how the lady was. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta, you know, from the goodness of your own heart, really share what your product is, especially if you know your product is good. If you know your product is good, then you know you're about to make some money back. So don't be afraid to give stuff for free. And don't be afraid to just pour into other people and serve other people with what your product is. You're always going to get that back if you're serving from the goodness of your heart, for real.
And just to kind of add on to that, we're thinking about it from the aspect of like who we're serving, but also when you're first getting started and you're trying to test out different things, if you just like, yeah, exactly, like your proof of concept, and you can go out to people and be like, hey, like you can kind of like front a little bit when you first start your business, like 100% of the time that happens. Where you're just getting started, you kind of have to present yourself professionally for like some time, and then one of those ways that you can do that is just by offering your services to people. And if you're just getting started, you might be trying to figure out your process, figuring out like what works for you, figuring out how to market yourself. So that's just a good way to like get started doing something, and then you can like figure out like your mistakes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a two-way way of thinking, like from your perspective and also from the perspective of your customer, the person you're serving. So with that, I want to kind of touch on like pace and kind of like, since we're kind of in this state of like instant gratification and the time with like Instagram and people are showing the highlights, I just want to hear from everybody up here, like what has it been like pacing yourself and being patient during this journey of like building businesses?
I'll say it tends to be kind of struggle for myself personally, because I feel like at times, because social media and people do move so fast, you feel like you have to keep up. But all actuality is you have to move at your own pace. Because if you start rushing yourself and you start competing with the person next to you, you get sloppy, you get messy, and you make mistakes. And then that person you're competing with, they start making strides, and you look at them like, why am I not doing the same thing? You start getting in your own head. And for me, it's just a reminder to say that I'm doing fine. You reflect on what you've done over the past month, 2 months, 3 months to a year, and say, you know what? Where I'm at now is way different than where I was at a year ago. And where I'm going to go is going to be way different than where I'm at now. So just keep it in your mind. You pace yourself. Don't listen to anybody else. It's just like your parents tell you when you're a kid. They call you dumb. Are you dumb? No. You listen to yourself. You listen to your heart. Listen to your thoughts, and you follow through with your own vision. That's it.
I can't really speak on that because I'm hella impatient. So I'm still working on that right now. So
I want to say something about patience is you got to give yourself the opportunity to realize that entrepreneurship is a different vein from what you've been taught for your 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Everything from since we started preschool to graduating college prepared us to work for somebody else. So you've got to be patient and understand that I need time to learn about entrepreneurship. Like I have to retrain my brain to work on a different set of rules. And with that being said, you got to allow yourself time to understand how to run a business. Sure, you have a great idea, great concept, and customers even. But that doesn't mean you know what you're doing in terms of that business. So that means being patient. And here's the second thing. People are lying to y'all. Yes. They're getting on Facebook and Instagram and selling you programs on running a business, and they don't make any money. They're not making money. They're making money off of charging you for their programs. Right. You know what I'm saying? They're telling you how to make a 6-figure business. The only 6-figure business they've had is selling their products to you to tell you how to make it. They didn't make money in business. So that's the second thing. Vet the people that you're learning from to understand that, am I getting information that's just going to hype me up? I'm going to a conference, but I'm not going to really leave with that information. Has this person actually been down that road and done that before? Because there's a huge difference between revenues and profits. There's a huge difference between making enough money to brag about on social media and what you actually take home. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people aren't telling you that. For myself, in 2018, I didn't pay myself a regular salary until 2018. You know, a regular salary. So and we started in 2014. So I didn't pay myself a regular salary until then. And it's a part of the business that most people will leave out because it's not glamorous. But the truth is, it takes time to build a business and grow a great brand. And people look at headlines and they see things like that. And I got family calling me and asking me for money. I might have a 7-figure company, but I ain't got 7 figures on me right now to pay your light bill. You know what I'm saying? Within the 48 hours last week, 6 different people text me or call me and ask me for money. You know what I mean? So that's, as an entrepreneur, especially a first generation entrepreneur, those are some of the things that I didn't take into account. It's just the emotional toll that it takes on you. You know what I'm saying? If you're the person that quote unquote made it in your business, you know what I'm saying? If some of you graduated college, so all of your relatives ask you for money like you got it because you got a degree, and they don't. So it's similar things in regards to that. So as far as things are concerned, entrepreneurship is a lot more practical than people give credit for. So when you take a leap, a lot of times if you look at entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, Bill Gates dropped out of college, or Steve Jobs did this. They had business that was making money. They had investors. They had something that was working before they did that. They didn't just quit their job and then like, oh, I guess I'll figure out what I'm going to do now. You know what I'm saying? So you have to think about it. Life is a lot more calculated than we like to give credit for. And entrepreneurs are some of the most calculated people that there are.
Can I say one thing for you? But this is one thing that stuck with me to humble me, also keep you get patience.
Mm-hmm.
The saying we came across, they said, the real race is your own pace. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That really humbles a person that's impatient,
Mm-hmm.
and also that really expect that they get that dollar tomorrow once they make that first step of making entrepreneurship. So I always keep that in mind. Every time you just remind yourself, you feel like it's not an overnight thing, just always remember the real race is your own pace. It's your business. It's your plan. It's what you envision for yourself and nobody else's. You may have business partners, but at the end of the day, it's your business. You set your rules. Right. So that's exactly it. Right.
So I am incredibly impatient, and I am not calculated at all. But what I do have to tell myself as far as pace, of course, when you're on social media, you're looking, there's 1,000 food accounts. There's so many food accounts. I remind myself who I am daily. My husband is a chef. I am a home cook. So, and we'll have little things. He's like, don't get that recipe. I'm a home cook. That's what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm supposed to share recipes with people. That's who I am. So every day I remind myself who I am, number one. And then number two, I'm always a student to this business. Like I said, I have no business background. I am a social worker. I am a creative, all that. I have no, whatever he just said, I was just like, yes. As far as being calculated in revenue and all that good stuff, I'm a student to it. We have books. We're reading articles. And I really don't want to go back to school because I'm like, there's no point now. But we're reading. We're a student to this business. Student to book. I don't even know what it's called. Bookkeeping. We're a student to that. Whatever we need in our business, we're researching it. So that's I'm my greatest competition every day.
And just to piggyback on that, the more that you can learn how to do your own stuff when you're first getting started as a business owner, the better. One of the things I first learned how to do was like use Photoshop. I was like, I need to know how to use this thing. I would love to pay other designers to do this stuff, but this is gonna be too expensive. And just like some other tools. Like, what are some other tools that like you all have taught yourself, and like even theories that you taught
Everything.
I'm kicking myself accounting. Keeping track of your books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying my hardest to backtrack at this point now, and it's killing me.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to lock that process in, and I took accounting in college, I didn't listen. I took the class, but if I would have done that years ago, even months ago, I would have made a much better path for myself. If there's anything I can stress in any business, lock in your finances as soon as possible. As soon as possible.
As a matter of fact, there's an app called Self-Employed where it kind of tracks your mileage as well as your expenses that you can kind of categorize as either personal or business. So I would suggest everybody to kind of get that. But as far as what I learned, pretty much my whole business, like I had a background in marketing, but like I learned, how to take photos, I learned how to do videos, I learned how to build websites, even like a little bit of like graphic design. Like I've learned all those things just because of the necessity. Like you gotta realize like what do you want your business to be, and then what roles can you actually play to actually grow your business. Because like she said, spending money for videographers or photographers or web designers is super pricey, and you'll go broke trying to do that all the time. So learning to do that yourself is super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I wanted to say something in regards to that. I wanted to share an unpopular opinion. When I started my business, some of you may know that I launched on Kickstarter. I did my own video. I figured out Premiere Pro, learned how to do photography. So for the first few years of my business, I did all the photography, all the video, did my own bookkeeping and all that. That was a horrible decision, y'all. Don't do that, all right? So I had a mentor that told me several years ago, he said, don't just start a business, start a big business. And what I learned was that we go into business trying to do everything ourselves from the inception, and sometimes that can trap you.
Yeah.
So I'm just now getting to the point where I'm hiring people to do things, and now I can grow. So there's only a few hours in the day. So we were talking about that earlier, like we try to manage our time. You don't get into entrepreneurship to work double as much time, right? You want to enjoy your life. I would hope that you would want to do that, even if you love what you do. And so I went back last year and I researched the other companies in my space who have went to, one of them just sold for $100 million, all right? To put it in perspective, they sold to Movado for $100 million. So I went back and listened to every podcast they ever did, and I understood the difference between them and me. And they started off right from the jump by determining who could do what. They did try to do everything themselves. And in 5 years, they sold for $100 million. So that could be the difference in you having just a business, working a 9 to 5, working 12 to 12, working 12 hours, 14-hour days, and having a big business that you can pass down to your children, where you can hire people, where you can put other people on and put people in position. And whenever somebody asks me the biggest mistake that I made in my business, that's it. I try to do everything myself. And I figured it out because you got YouTube, Google University, all of that stuff. But honestly, it can trap you into working more. So we have to be really careful with that. But I stand by that 100%. Like, you got to figure some things out yourself until you're able to get people. But you should always have it in the back of your head. What things do I want to actually do in my business, and what things do I want other people to assist me with? That's the only way you're going to be able to grow, y'all. That's why, and I hate to be long-winded on this, but there's a business in Atlanta. I'm from Georgia. There's a business in Atlanta called Bankhead Seafood. And it was like all celebrities used to cover. It was in all the rap songs. People used to go to it, line wrapped around the corner for years and years and years. But when the mom and owner got sick, the business closed. That was it. She worked there until she died. And we can't have generational wealth if the business dies with us. The only way that we can pass these businesses down is if we have a big business mindset and we start from the beginning figuring out who is going to do well, who is going to help us. So in this room is your network to grow your business. These are people who came out on a freaking Tuesday night, on the election day, in the evening, in the cold. These are the people that you want to connect with, and your $1 million might be in this room right now. We even got babies in here with me.
Can I piggyback on something he said? You're absolutely right about that. The only thing I would say to kind of counteract that is that by doing stuff yourself, you know how your stuff is supposed to look. Like, I know, like, now I'm at the point where I'm at the same place you are, where I'm trying to, like, pass stuff off. But now I know exactly the way my stuff's supposed to look like. I know if somebody says it's going to take 3 weeks, I'm like, nah, it's going to take 2 days. Like, you know how this stuff's supposed to run because you've actually done it. You know that, people, because as somebody who's done videos, some people will say, yo, it's gonna take 8 weeks. Like, no, it don't. It don't take no 8 weeks for that, yeah. For a 60-second commercial, it don't take that long. So you can kind of really direct how your stuff is supposed to be, how it's supposed to flow, because you can actually do it yourself if need be. If it comes down to it, you can get in there, hop on the computer, edit this video, edit these photos, you know, do your bookkeeping, or whatever the case may be. But he's 100% right. You need to like start to bring other people in, but also get in there a little bit yourself so you can know how the stuff's supposed to look and flow.
It's no different than like when you own a Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
you do all of the jobs in there so that you have an understanding of it.
Right.
You know, even though you're the owner operator. Sorry, Coach.
Right.
I'll add to that too. So I've been doing Nomarama for a couple years now, more than I'd like to actually say as far as the business side, but it was, as a lot of businesses start out, more of a hobby. I didn't take myself too seriously from the very beginning, and I'll honestly say that, but it got to the point where things were really ramping up. And as I mentioned, I've got a full-time job, so I got 2 kids, so I need to be in multiple places and doing multiple things at once. This is my right-hand man right here. His name is Mike, best friend, and it got to a point where he was like, you need help. I'm helping. Like, you don't have an option at this point. And I appreciate it to this day, and I appreciate it then, but it's even to the point where you have to start to learn and teach yourself how to delegate. So once you can trust somebody to help grow your business and bring it to the next level, that's even more so important to where you are able to delegate responsibilities to others that you can't manage yourself, because it's not enough time in the day at the end of the day. You gotta still worry about yourself. And as you mentioned, you go into business for yourself to give yourself more time. If you are taking on everything to grow your business, everything to promote everything on your plate is your business, you are trapped. And you're not able to enjoy your life at that point. And that's not what anybody wants.
True.
So I wanted to open it up for, perfect time.
Open it up for
We're
questions.
opening it up for you raise your hand first.
Okay.
Question.
Well, thank y'all for everybody coming out for one. For two, y'all spoke on taxes. Now, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Let's uncover everything, and people gonna start crying about the real thing. So taxes, for me, from what I researched, I was messing my taxes up, and I'm just gonna tell everybody, please don't do it yourself. Get your CPA. You can be as good as you could be, but if you're not going to all the classes and stuff, you're probably losing money. And that's what happened to me. I lost a lot of money until I gave it up and said, okay, I can't do it anymore.
Right.
But I knew what I knew, and you don't know what you don't know. So,
True.
Right. That's all.
Did you have a question?
That was it, because y'all brought up taxes.
Yeah.
I put that out there. I want to save somebody.
Yeah.
Right, no, it's true though. I was in the same boat, and it didn't happen until about last year, and I could do this myself, and I was like, nope, it's not a job for Jarrell, so.
I wanted to ask y'all, when you started your business, did y'all have any mentors that you were able to, reach out and touch and ask them questions and have guidance, or was it just something that you just kind of instinctually just, like, hey, I read it in a book or I Googled it kind of stuff?
Me personally, I didn't, because there wasn't anybody who is doing what I do, around here. I really hate that I'm about to say this, but I really watched like every video that Gary Vee put out. Yeah, my wife used to get sick and tired of hearing that man's voice in our house. So like that really got me to the point of like, you know what, I'm gonna watch his videos, and stuff starting to click. Like even like ideas I had, like it kind of like reaffirmed the ideas, and then after a while I was like, why am I paying attention to him when I had these ideas and thoughts? So now it's just time to like just go after my own thoughts and stuff. So I really didn't have a mentor.
I feel like I had mentors in the field, but not necessarily of what I'm doing. Two of my mentors, they own Now Your Cooking Culinary Studio. And so of course they teach cooking classes, but no one really teaches like the therapeutic cooking classes. As far as, and Shad and Elle, they're like huge mentors for me. And just having people to kind of bounce your ideas off of. Like if I bounce, and I'm grateful for that. It's really awesome when you have friends that are in the area, in the area that you need, that marketing area, and they're like willing to tell me, you know what I'm saying? Instead of saying like, hey, nah, that's $50 right there. I'm gonna need $50 before I give you my opinion. But no, they'll tell me. I'll bounce something off of them, and they're like, nah, that's trash. that's trash, like, you know, or they'll say, oh no, that's fire, that's dope, you know. So having people that you can kind of just bounce those ideas off of, that's really cool. And even with mentors, and I'm a firm believer of mentors, but you kind of take the good and leave the bad. You know what I'm saying? Because people are still people at their core. And that's all I'm gonna say. Okay?
And so for me, I mean, my father was a heavy entrepreneur all my life growing up, basically. So much so that he calls a 9 to 5 the plantation. Like, I got to go to the plantation. And as a kid, I didn't.
And you still went to work after
that? And as a kid, I didn't really understand like what he was talking about. But so as far as like a model or
that's me.
What's the word you use?
Mentor.
Mentor. Excuse me. Yeah, mentor. In the business that I'm in, he wasn't necessarily a mentor to facilitate ideals in my mind, but as far as how you're supposed to feel about yourself and your business, he did provide that for me. And to add to that, like you said, watching Gary Vee, in the space that I'm in, I'm big on foodies. So when y'all heard of Vice Network and everything, so when Vice first came about, there was a subset called Munchies. Yeah. Every single video on Munchies, I watched all of them. And I said, I love everything about this, this, and this. So it was a matter of me just digesting all the information and trying to regurgitate it in a way that I could present it in my own style. So that's what I did, still do to this day.
And I didn't have any mentors either, not personally, but you know, through books and videos, man, you really can learn anything that you want to learn. And I think we put too much weight on mentorship in a traditional sense now, because the truth be told, if you find a mentor that's current, in your field, doing what you want to do, they're going to be too busy to hold your hand and show you every single step. You know, mentors are kind of like, you know, somebody you lean on for knowledge. Like you go to them, you can ask them a question and you can trust their opinion. But as far as the information that you need to get started, it's already there. It's there for free. You know, it's free for the taking. So if anybody is waiting to get a mentor, because people email me all the time about being a mentor, I'm like, honestly, man, I don't have time to mentor you. I don't even know what you need, you know, but if you have a specific question, just ask that. And the great thing now is that we are connected to everybody. You know, you'd be surprised how much you can get in contact with people. You know, I've hit up celebrities about, you know, sending them a free watch, and they hit me right back and say, hey, man, you own this company? Don't send me anything. I'm gonna pay for it myself. You know what I mean? So we are like disconnected to everybody. I think this is the best time in history to start a business because of that.
Dad always told me, never be afraid to ask. At the end of the day, what is the person gonna say? Yes or no?
And one thing I'll add too about the mentorship piece and kind of training and like studying, nothing replaces drive. Nothing replaces just wanting to do it, because there are going to be days if you do start your business or if you're already operating it, if you don't have that discipline in place, then you're not going to, all this training and stuff doesn't really matter as much if you don't really like what you're doing. So you just have to find something you're passionate about. Any other questions? Good questions. Yeah? Yeah, sure.
I think that you all have said really great things, but something I feel like we haven't touched on is the loneliness in business. And I think that people come into business thinking that it's going to blow up and everyone's going to support them and it's going to be all great because, again, you've seen it on social media. So what do you do in those moments when you're lonely? And your friends and your friends don't really support what you're doing. How do you keep going when those moments happen?
I do events. So as you can imagine, I'm blasting everybody on social media. Yo, we're homies, come to my event. And Mike can attest to this. The last two, we have a slider competition, as I mentioned. The last two we've had, I can probably count on 2 hands, friends who have showed up. Everybody else, and I'm talking hundreds of tickets. Everybody else is people that I don't even know. They're my tribe on social. They're my people that I see in the streets. But that's a very good question. And I think it's a matter of just being honest with yourself. And as you mentioned before, just the drive. If you see that you have this goal in mind, no matter what happens, you just gotta persevere and push forward. Because if you weigh a lot of your decisions based on your friends supporting you or them buying your product, you miss the idea that there are other people who want your product. who want your services. So you have to go about finding those other people who will give you what you want and give you the time of day.
What I'm learning to do in the downtime or the lonely time, and I just learned this year. I'm the type of person, I compare a lot. And I don't know if anyone else does that, but I compare a lot. And so in my downtime in my business, I would almost have to push jealousy out. It's like, oh, like, dang, they popping right now. Like, let me go do something real quick so I can post something real quick. But you can't fall, you can't fall victim to that. So what I've learned to do is, number one, like Jarrell was saying, support others, genuinely support others. There's highs and lows in business. There's highs and lows in life. And so I just feel like when you look at it, you're just not busy in your business at that time. That's time to go support someone else.
Yeah.
Period. That's time to go to events like this. That's time to share somebody else's stuff and really push them. Also, become a student. When you're not busy, you can pick up a book. You can, and it doesn't have to be a book about business. It doesn't have to be a book about anything business. I just started reading memoirs over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And memoirs, the inspiration that I've gotten from like Maya Angelou and Cornel West and just little other people out here, reading their books, they really have inspired me. And they don't even, Maya Angelou cook, but some of the other people that I've read about, they don't cook, they weren't social workers or anything, just their drive in life really pushed me to do stuff. And then the third thing that I've learned to do is, whatever your business is, I don't know what your business is, but my business is cooking. And so when and Shad has taught me this, to build content. If I'm cooking dinner, I'm taking pictures. My husband's like, come on, man. I'm hungry. But I'm taking pictures of my plate. I'm taking pictures of whatever I'm cooking or whatever. And I don't post everything. Shad taught me that you don't post everything that you have. Keep it so that you can still keep your business in front of people's faces, not to keep up with anybody else, but to just keep content out there.
As far as the loneliness, man, you gotta understand that number one, we don't build businesses for our friends to support. So I see a lot of people blasting friends on social media. I don't want to buy my product. Well, you got to offer something that they want.
Right.
That's the first thing, and that they would buy from somebody else. So it's not always a them against you thing. But I look at it like graduating high school and going off to college.
Yes.
It's like you leave your high school friends, but you make new friends in college. Like there's a whole other network of people I've met from owning a business that I didn't have before. And your friends are still going to be there. You know what I mean? I got family members that just bought something from me this year. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Year 5. That's cool with me. You know what I mean? It's going to take some people time to understand what you're doing, but the good thing is you're not doing it for them anyway. But to combat the loneliness, you get a new network of people that are doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's good. Like whenever me and Shad talk, we always do, oh man, what's been going on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This and this happened. So that little 2-minute exchange is good. Like he's in the trenches like me. We understand each other. We can keep it pushing. So that helps a lot. Other entrepreneurs hearing their stories and things like this helps you keep going. Help you feel like you're not alone in what you're doing.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And to piggyback off what Randy just said, everything he said was absolutely correct. But one thing that I actually just learned probably in the past couple of months is that, sometimes, like you said, your brand or what you're selling or what you're doing isn't really for your friends. So you can't really expect them to, come out to everything that you're doing if it really doesn't pertain to them. Because, your friends are busy as well. But one thing I really realized, probably today I told myself, you know what? Instead of always thinking to myself like, why my friends don't support me, why don't I just ask my friends to come out? And so I have, a couple of friends in the room who probably haven't been to none of my events or anything that I'm speaking at, but I know that they support me because when I really asked them, they were here. So, you don't have to, invite your friends or see why every little thing you do, your friends don't support you or, they haven't support you. But, when you actually need them to really support, ask them instead of just thinking that they're just going to automatically do it. So.
it seems like, I don't know, sometimes, I guess, my question is, the question is, in order to get to the next level, what's the difference in doing it your way, where you're doing it slowly but surely, or try to get a business loan and jump, like, because you guys sound like you're doing it yourselves, which is good in the way you're not a lot of debt. I don't know your economics, but sometimes when you do the business loan way, you're automatically going out, you're in debt, and you're kind of got under the bullet a little bit differently. So what are your thoughts about going about setting and establishing a business that way versus the traditional homegrown grassroots way?
I've had people approach me and, like, you know, offer to invest. And my only reserve with that is, if I go full time, I leave my job where I'm dependent on them paying me. I go to an investment to where now I have to depend on paying them before I can fully own my business again. So, and that's just my personal stance on it. I'm not to say I'm against investments by any means, but it's just not been the right time for me to take an investment. And I'm still really feeling out the directions that I want to go with all of my ways I bring income in. So it's just reminding myself that, yo, this check sounds really good. It's awful, you know, appealing, but at the same time, if I take this check, I'm now indebted to this other person. So.
Yeah.
While you were asking your question, I heard Jay-Z in the back of my head, credit. You know what I'm saying? So I know that for myself and my husband, that is our next step. Just really, I started kitchen therapy, honestly, as a struggling single mother, living with her mother, and my over $40,000 salary was still not scratching the surface of what I needed to do. And so I started kitchen therapy to pay off my debts, to pay all my student loans, to pay on all my stuff. But I know that the next step in my business it is reliant on us getting our finances and our credit in order. Because the things that we want to do, we want to buy land, you know, we want to buy buildings, stuff like that. That all depends on your own personal finances and your business credit.
I'm the same boat as Jarrell. Like, I feel like you work so hard to quit your job, but if you get a loan or like investors or something like that, you pretty much back to working for somebody. So I definitely feel like, you know, I wouldn't do it. I feel like once you exhaust all your options, then maybe, but I feel like there's still more things that I can actually do in my business to kind of grow it and really not depend on somebody else before I get to that level. So. And
that's unless you make like a deal where the terms are like super good to where there's like real low interest or something like that, but like that's very rare. Somebody's going to invest in you, they want their return, either they want it quickly or they want a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So it's like you building something from the ground up and it's been only you growing it, you don't want to part with it unless they really talking some serious coin. And maybe I'm just not there yet. You know, I watch a lot of Shark Tank and I'm just like, whoa, sell, you know, but it's like you realize that you hold a lot of, it's your baby, you know, it's your baby, and you just can't let it go that quick. So.
Yeah.
I think the answer to your question is based on what your long-term vision is for what you're trying to do. Like, some people are going to be able to do what they do and they'll never have to take out a loan. Some people want to build skyscrapers. You're going to need to borrow some money from somebody, right? So it's all about your long-term vision about what you want to do. And then secondly, I would say that's the importance of proof of concept. If your business is not making money right now, you don't need to get a loan. You know what I mean? You need to work yourself to the point where you have sold as much product and you've gone as far as you can, and a loan is going to help you sell even more. You don't get a loan and then figure out what you're going to do with it and how you're going to make money. You know, you got to already have a strategy. So that's what I would say to you, because in my early stages of my business, I went to the bank and they were like, you new in business, you ain't even been here 2 years, we're not giving you no money. And so I talked to the banker and said, okay, what do I need to do? What should this look like? And then in a couple of years, they were able to lend to me, you know what I'm saying, if I needed it. But the point is, by the time you get them, you don't need it like you needed it at the beginning, you know what I mean? Right. But it's good to have that option as well, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about the long-term strategy that you have, and in doing so, make sure that your company is able to actually make money and profit from whatever money you borrow, you know.
yourself as you're doing what you're doing now. You're building yourself up to get around that particular crowd. Once the noise is being spoken from what you're doing, it eventually be heard from a guy that might come to you and want to put money in your hand instead of you going and asking for it. So it's a big difference how they saying your hard work is going to perceive itself, period. You know what I'm saying? So I really strongly believe in that. Like, be practice on the free word. Like, Shad, this is his conglomerate right here for all the hard work he put behind himself and what he believed in. And it's a grand example to let you know that it do pays off. Serving pays off, period. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, I think my man had a question
Work
real
for
quick.
your business.
So I'm curious to find out how y'all determined what your market was, like what a market you wanted to appeal to, and then after you had decided that's the market you wanted to appeal to, did that actually pay off for you? Versus saying a completely different customer or somebody that was requiring the services, you're like, man, I was blown away. How did that work out for y'all?
To me, what I did was when I first started out, I thought, as everybody say, I thought I was going to be for everybody. So, and then I realized that, guys don't really buy marketing services, or they don't really, do a lot of content. Like, Randy is probably like one of the maybe 5 guys that paid me to do work, like my whole 4 or 5 years of business. So I realized that a lot of my clientele is like, women entrepreneurs. And then after that, I realized that a lot of people who did hair was always hit me up. But then I realized I don't really want to work with that demographic. It was a lot of stuff that I wasn't a good fit for. I wasn't a good fit for that demographic. I'll just leave it like that. So then you really just try to think of like, what brings you the most joy with the different people. So like I did a whole bunch of work for a lot of different people. And then I realized like these type of people in this little community, these are the people I love working with. These are the people like I get joy with working with. Like I like working with people who, I tell my wife, I like people who are like fans of my work. So when I come in, they know what I bring to the table. So it's not a lot of micromanaging. It's not a lot of, looking over my shoulder or anything like that. They just like, you know what, this is what I want to do. And here you go. So that's pretty much what it is. Do a whole bunch of work, and then you can kind of figure out who you like working with and who you don't like working with, and just lean heavily into the people you like working with.
It's kind of like school, where you following crowds and you're trying to fit in with certain people or whatever. You think you should be in this type of work or in this type of environment, but the work you're putting in is not being as fruitful as you think. So for myself, for an example, I'm not old by any means, but like I got to the point where I recognized that I was out of touch with certain things, as far as certain cultures or the younger culture, and slang terms or whatever. We partner with a group that does a lot of high energy late night type events. I'm not a late night guy anymore. I got 2 kids. I'm tired by 9 p.m. That's almost my bedtime now. So to recognize like who I am, and to then start, like Shad said, to those who appreciate my work more so. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I putting all my effort and energy into trying to present myself in a manner that I don't even act on anymore? You see what I'm saying? Be real with yourself. Be real with yourself, be honest with yourself, and people will start to really tell you that, I appreciate what you're doing. I love this. And I came to realize that a lot, for some reason, and I think I mentioned this on our call, I've got a very big following with middle-aged white women. And I don't know why. And I think it's because I'm very much involved with my family. I love my family, and I put them out there, and I'm as honest as I am on social media as I am in person. And I recognize that, and I said, I'm not, if I want to start working in events with like the late night crew, I'll partner with other people. And they help me push further with their strengths. But you focus on what you're good at, and you lead with that.
And we love food.
I'm kind of the same. I felt like, and Shad and Elle asked me that question when I wrote my book, who is your market? And all that was foreign and Greek to me, and I'm like, what? But I realized that my market is who I am at the moment in my field. At the time, I was a single parent and a woman who was really healing from some stuff. So that was my market at the time. And now I'm a married woman who's a mom and, you know, business owner and all that stuff. So that now, and I'm a woman, and now that's really my market. But here recently, the guys are kind of coming on here, and I'm really excited about that. You know, I'll post something like, "Oh, there's dads here." Hey, bro. But some guys will post under my post like, "Yo, like, you know, the dads are out here too. The guys are out here too," and I could never get that before. Before I was just He-Man bashing men according to everybody else.
You're definitely
I was
that.
not.
You're definitely that.
Man. But I just feel like your market is who you are. Never, because whatever lives for you is going to live for somebody else.
Yeah.
So whatever your story is going to live for someone else. Period.
The way I recognized my market was I tried to look at opportunities that weren't there. So being a fan of watches, for all these years, I was looking through all these ads and this light bulb just went off in my head. I realized I'd never see any brown goods. I'd never see any people that look like me in a watch ad. Never. And I said to myself that that's one way that I'll be able to differentiate myself. And yes, it did work. And then the second pivot that we made was I always assumed all of my customers were men until I looked at the numbers. So after a couple of years, I realized that 50% of my customers were women buying gifts for a man in their life. And that just totally shifted everything I was thinking. It shifted my ads. Then I added a women's line, you know what I mean? So I combined it with that and all the emails, like, when are you gonna drop women's line? So again, it's a combination of filling a gap that's in the market, something that's not there. Like Rashad said, he was offering a service that nobody was really doing in the area. And then also looking at the actual data and saying, okay, what are these numbers telling me? Now that I've been doing this for a little while, what are these numbers telling me?
Yeah.